Let me talk about God's role for men just a minute and bring your wife to her full potential. Ephesians 5:29 tells men that they should nourish and cherish their wives as they would their own bodies. These are agricultural words. And the word nourish means to feed to maturity. And the word cherish means to keep warm. It means to keep a plant from frost or anything that would affect it negatively. I want to remind all the men that husband is a farming term. Husband is a growing term. The number one role of every man is to bring your wife to her full potential in God. Why did God create my wife in her mother's womb? Why was she created? To be an astrophysicist, to be a stay-at-home mom, to be a worship leader, to be a teacher, to be all the above. Whatever it is that God created her to be, I'm God's partner to bring her to her full potential. Now, I grew up around chauvinism. It really wasn't my father, really, as much as it was my grandfather, and really all of that family. My grandfather was a male chauvinist pig, and I loved him. He was a sweet man, but he was a male chauvinist pig, and my grandmother just waited on him hand and foot, and I saw that all the time I was growing up, and I just thought, that's of the Lord, and B, I want one of those. And literally, my granddad, this is the truth, he would be sitting in his chair all day. He never dialed the telephone for himself. He never did anything for himself around the house. And he would reach over and thump his coffee cup, and my grandmother would give him another cup of coffee. He didn't have to communicate except to thump his coffee cup. And I thought, isn't that fabulous? And I'd thump my iced tea glass when we got married trying to train Karen. Well, A, she didn't train. And she just kind of gave me this look like, you better be killing a fly, pal. I ain't getting up or nothing. You know, is that, I mean, I just thought, that's fantastic. And when Karen and I got married, the concept of her destiny never came to my mind. I never thought to myself, you know, I bet she has a special purpose for our life. Here's what I thought about marriage. Men are special, and she's there to go on a journey with Mr. Wonderful. That's why she exists. Well, let me say this. Every man is going to stand before God one day and give an account of the most important thing he ever gave you. And the most important thing he ever gave you was your wife. And you're going to stand and give an account before God one day. And he's going to say, now, were you my partner or the devil's partner? Were you my partner to bring her to her full potential of why I created her in her mother's womb? Or were you the devil's partner to beat her down and keep her down? Because you're one or the other. You're not both. I was the devil's partner. I was verbally abusive. I was neglectful. I paid her no attention. I didn't do anything to fan the flame of the destiny that God had created her in her mother's womb to do. And that's one of the things, when our marriage was on the rocks and we were on the verge of divorce, it's one of the things that I repented for, is being just a selfish idiot. That's who I was. I was a chauvinistic, selfish idiot. And I repented to Karen. And as I began to pray for God to heal our marriage, one of the things that God began to speak to me was, Jimmy, it's not your destiny, it's your destiny together. And Karen has a destiny. And I put you together for a reason, but Karen has a destiny. Now, I'm going to say this. Nourish and cherish, as you would your own body, as sensitive and caring as you would be to your own body, husbands, that's the way you should be to your wives. She needs you in order to reach her full potential. And the question is this: what has God created her to be? Well, the number one way you're going to find out is to listen to your wife. What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What do you believe, God created you for? And the second is to pray about it and ask God, what is it that you want me to do to help my wife achieve her destiny in you? Let me say, today, if I stood before Jesus right now, I can say confidently, I couldn't say this before, but I can say confidently, I have been God's partner for the last 30 or so years of our marriage to bring Karen to her full potential. And Karen was beaten down, had terrible self-esteem, and I was not a help to that whatsoever. But today, Karen's a lioness for God. And she's a strong, confident, godly woman, and she's living in her destiny. And I've been a part of that. And I'm thankful that I got that opportunity. And I'm saying marriage is a win-win deal. And we are supposed to nourish and cherish our wives. Now let me say there's a scar. There's a scar on many women here. And there's a scar on many women watching and women across America. And I don't blame them. And the scar is women have been put down for centuries. Women have had to fight for everything they get, any rights that they get, any fair treatment that they get. They've had to fight for it all, and they've been abused and put down. They've been rejected and deserted. They've all these things like that by men. And it produces a scar within them because for the most part, we have been so selfish. We really have. And I've been that way too in my life. What heals a woman is a selfless, sacrificial man that says, this marriage is not about me, it's about us. And to my hurt, your needs will be met first. And I am God's partner to bring you to your full potential in Him, and I will never rest until that's accomplished. And that's what heals that scar in women. God's plan is brilliant. God's plan doesn't put anybody down. But through doing what Ephesians 5 says, both of you are going to get where you're supposed to get. And women only get there in an atmosphere, a stable atmosphere. One of the things that I say is a good husband is a good greenhouse. Is we create an environment, a protected, growing environment where we literally cover our wives with prayer and care and nurture and give them everything they need to flourish in an environment of growing into their full potential in God. A good husband is a good greenhouse, but a bad husband is a wilderness. I was a wilderness. 1 Corinthians 11:7 is an interesting scripture. It says, men are the glory of God, but women are the glory of men. Now let me give you the King Jimmy version on that. Men reflect the nature of the God they choose. Women reflect the nature of the husbands they choose. And I used to come in the house when I'd work in golf. That's all I did, work and golf. And I'd come in the house and I'd completely neglected Karen. And Karen had this look on her face. And Karen treated me a lot better than I deserved. But Karen would have this look on her face of just frustration and loneliness. And I would walk in, but I didn't want her to look like that. I wanted her to be radiant and meet me at the door and shower me with blessings and meet all of my needs. And I remember looking at her thinking, she's got a problem. She's got a problem. And I heard that scripture one day that women are the glory of men. And I thought, she ain't my glory. She's the glory of, lemon juice or something. She ain't my glory. I didn't produce that. But I did. And what I realized is I was looking at my character in the mirror of her face. And this selfish, chauvinistic idiot had produced a beaten down, frustrated wife. But what I noticed was this. When I changed and I began to love her and serve her and focus on her, she blossomed like a rose. Your wife reflects your character. Your wife reflects your nurture. It's the way they're made.
Thank you for joining us. Experience the life-changing series, The Indestructible Marriage, on CD or DVD. Looking for your next great book? Start reading instantly with Marriage Today's ebooks, now available online. Marriage Today's latest book, Happy, Happy Love, will supercharge your marriage with practical tips, wisdom, and inspiration for every stage of marriage. Visit happylovebook.com. Follow your interests and get social by connecting with Jimmy and Karen and the Ministry of Marriage Today on Twitter. Become a rock-solid partner today and equip yourself with the tools you need for a successful marriage. $14, $28, or $56 per month. Choose the partnership level that's right for you. Become a rock-solid partner today.